We will be starting very shortly, everybody. We're super excited. Okay, let's change our camera over, and I think we're all good. It's going to take a couple of seconds, a bit of a delay here, but we're super excited to be here today. My name is Will Sorley. I'm a part of the Toronto Region Conservation Authority. Now today we have our nature lesson, but we are focusing on seasonal changes. Now today we're going to explore a lot of different things, but we're going to really focus on the big idea of seasonal changes and how it affects living things, or how do living things are affected by these changes. If we can even listen right now, we can hear a blue jay. If we listen real carefully, we're going to be looking for different things too, and listening with our ears. Now to first start us off, we have to kind of know, well, what are our seasons that we have? What are our 4 seasons that we experience? Let's think about it for a second. Think with your class, think with the people around you. What are those 4 seasons? Let's think about it. We're in a season right now too. I wonder, and I'm going to pull up a picture of one of our seasons that you may know. And this one, a lot of people like having fun in. We have our summer season right here. So our summer. A lot of people like having fun in our summer season. We also have our fall, or known as autumn as well. So we have summer, autumn. We also have one of my favorites, and we're coming into soon, winter. I'm super excited for winter. And last but not least, does anybody know it? And if you think you know any of this, by all means, or if we ask any questions, type it into the chat, and hopefully we can answer those questions and you can participate throughout our conversation and live stream. Anyone know our last season? There's a lot of growth during it. Anyone know? Anyone know? It is our season of spring. That's right. So our 4 seasons that we have are summer, autumn or fall, winter, and spring. Now, to go through some of these ones that we have here, we're going to think about, how can we better remember them? So what we're going to do is just some actions for each of these seasons. So when I say summer, what we're going to do is, now you'll need a bit of space around you, is you're going to run on the spot. So I'm going to give a moment for everyone to stand on up. And if you're behind your desk, maybe you'll just have to step behind your desk, tuck in your chair, make sure you're good. And what we're going to do is, when I say summer, and the picture of summer comes up, we're going to run on the spot because we like having lots of fun during the summer. So when summer comes up, we're going to run as fast as we can. Awesome. And our next one, does anyone remember what it was, one of our other seasons? We have autumn or fall. So for this one, we noticed that there's a lot of leaves falling during this time. So we're going to be a tree, and we're going to shake our hands, and all those leaves are going to fall to the ground, and we're going to fall to the ground. Ready? Autumn. Autumn. Perfect. I like it. Getting our bodies warmed up, keeping me nice and warm too. Our next season that we have is winter. And for this one, it's pretty cold in winter, so what we're going to do is we're going to shiver real hard. Shiver. When we say winter. Awesome. And our last but not least, if you remember it, we have spring. And for spring, there's lots of growth. A lot of animals have come back. They're having little babies. What we're going to do for this one, we're going to start really small, and we're going to grow into a beautiful flower. Everyone bat your eyes. It's a beautiful flower in the spring. Perfect. So those are our 4 actions for each of our seasons. So when I say the season and the image pops up, we're going to do those actions. So we're going to go through them one more time. Summer. Perfect. Autumn. Oh, wait, that's not autumn. autumn. There we go. Perfect. Just trying to trick you guys here. And we have winter. And our final one that we have as well is spring. Our growing, beautiful flower. Awesome. So, everybody ready? Summer. Perfect. Fall. Winter. Spring. And fall. Tricking you up here. And winter. Summer. And we have spring. Awesome. Those are just some of our actions that can help us remember our 4 seasons that we have here. Now, let's do a thumbs up in your classroom. What season do you think it is in right now? Think about it. Think about it with your classmates. And look around us too. Look behind me, look around me, and even listen. What season do you think it is? And you're going to give us your answer by thumbs up or thumbs down, okay? And if you want, you can also type it in the chat. What season do you think we are in right now? Thumbs up if you think we're in the season of summer. And you can always go with thumbs to the side if you're not quite sure. Okay. Thumbs up if you think we're in the season of fall. What do we think? Thumbs up if you think we're in the season of winter. Thumbs up if you think we're in the season of spring. Okay. Ready? Drum roll. We are in the season of autumn. That's right. We're in the season of autumn. So thumbs up for the season of autumn. That is the season we are in right now. Yes, we do have snow. But our next season that we're coming into is actually our winter season. So what we're going to do just right now is we're going to go on a bit of a walk, because I remember I said that we're going to look towards all those living things that might be affected or how they change around living things. So what we're going to do in just a moment, I'm going to be transferring you over to my camera. We're going to go for a little walk down our path and see what we can find. So you're just going to have to give me one moment. I'm going to grab my gimbal right here. Whoop. Pretty fancy nifty tool we got. I'm going to change the camera. I'm going to walk away this way. Everybody ready for this? Let's see if we can do this nice and smoothly here. Ready? And we're going to go to Teams call. Gimbal right here. Whoop. Pretty fancy nifty tool we got. I'm going to change the camera. I'm going to walk away this way. Everybody ready for this? Let's see if we can do this nice and smoothly here. Ready? And we're going to go to Teams call. That is strange. You guys can't hear me. You can see me though, I think, right now, and you might be able to hear me now just through our mic over here. But I'm unfortunate about that. Sorry guys, a bit of a technical difficulty. It was working earlier when we tried it out. But some of the things that we are going to be looking for, and what you can do as well around our areas, are just a couple of things and indicators around us right now. Yeah, perfect, we're back. Some of these different things that we can think of is just by looking at different leaves on the ground. I'm going to turn you guys around here. And looking at different leaves. Now, fall is a really good time where we can learn about our different plants too. Now, I can see right here, right? I have a green plant. Now, green usually means it's alive, whereas our brown leaves, well, usually means they're not. That's where we kind of start looking at fall. And when I start looking up at different trees too, I can see that this tree here doesn't have any leaves. That's a great indicator to tell me that we're in the season of fall. But Will, what about this tree? This tree still has green. Well, not all trees lose their leaves. Even though they look different, they're both trees, and these are still leaves. This is our white cedar. It keeps its leaves during the winter months, and it doesn't lose them during the fall. So some trees lose their leaves, and well, some trees don't. But even if it doesn't have leaves, it doesn't mean it's dead, which is something we always have to remember. So how do we tell, well, if it doesn't have leaves, how do we know it's not dead? And that's by looking at the tips of the tree. So looking at the branches, and I have a branch right here with me right now, and we're going to be looking at the tips of the branches. So I'm going to turn the camera around for us. Perfect. And we're going to look at our branch right here. So what we can see is all these little buds on the edge of our tree branch. And what are buds, you may be asking? Well, buds, for a tree that loses its leaves, are small baby leaves. That's what they are. So a tree that may not have leaves, if you go up nice and close and carefully look at the branches, you will be able to see some of these buds. Now, we don't want to hurt the tree. We don't want to rip these buds off because these buds are going to start to grow during our spring month. You could almost say some trees kind of go to sleep by losing their leaves. Meanwhile, some other trees don't lose their leaves. And I'm just going to be getting probably a couple buds here right now, some vibrant ones, and along with some other things that plants produce during the fall months. Now, another great thing that we can see happen for our plants during the fall, and it's a really cool one, is seeds. Now, plants grow, right? They don't start off as a big tall tree like this, right? They're just like us. They grow. Living things grow, but they start out very small. If you have a baby sibling, think about them. Are they big and tall just like you? Probably not, right? They start off very small. And we have some seeds right here. This is a plant. This plant isn't alive anymore, but the seeds might grow into a living plant. And these are our goldenrod seeds. It kind of looks like some fluff, right? And all of those little fluff are different seeds, all from the same plant, which is really cool. Our goldenrod is a really cool plant as it also provides a home for different animals as well. Now, what we're going to do is a little activity around our plants because, well, our plants, they grow, right? They're living things as well. So I'm going to put you guys down here for a moment, and I'm going to tilt the camera down because this is what we're going to be. We're going to be seeds just like our goldenrod here, but we need to grow. So I need everyone to crouch down, and I need everyone to be a nice small seed. Everyone's a nice small seed here. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And then what we need to grow as a plant is we need some water, we need the sunlight, and we need lots and lots of oxygen. So everyone take a deep breath. And then you're going to start wiggling your toes. You're going to start wiggling your body. And you're going to start growing. And then you're going to start growing. You're going to start sprouting out of the ground. And then you're going to start moving your arms into branches and into leaves. But remember, we have buds, and then our leaves, and then we're a big, tall, adult tree. But do we keep those leaves all year? Not if we're a tree that loses them. We call those deciduous. We don't have to worry too much about that word, but trees that lose their leaves are deciduous. Trees that don't lose their leaves are coniferous. Yeah, Rye, is there a question?
There was a question. We have a question. We are wondering, how do the leaves fall off the trees in the fall?
That's a great question. How do the leaves, not the trees, fall off the leaves?
And I'll add a second question. Maybe it's tied together. Dimitri is wondering why some trees don't lose their leaves.
That's a great question. So, how do trees, well, lose their leaves? So if this leaf is attached to me, I know during the summer months that they're bright and green. And inside of our leaves, there's actually a lot of water, and it provides food for our trees as well. What trees actually do is they cut off the supply of that nutrients. They kind of cut it all off. And what happens is, on the tip of our leaf here, on the stem, it becomes, well, very fragile. And just with lots and lots of wind during the fall, it will blow off. So the tree kind of kills its own leaves, you could say. But there's a reason for that too. If we think about water, what happens to most water when it gets really, really cold? Well, water in general. What happens to water when it gets really, really, really cold? It freezes. And if a tree had a whole bunch of frozen leaves, like ice cubes, it might actually break. And that's why ice storms are very dangerous to trees, as all that weight will break their branches. And your branches are like your arms to you. Yeah. And why don't other trees lose their leaves? Like our cedar tree here. I'm gonna try to bring it over here a bit. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. Right over here. Why doesn't this tree lose its leaves? Well, this tree has kind of like an antifreeze in it. So that means its leaves won't actually freeze during the winter months. It's kind of like what your parents, or if you're an adult, you put into your car. You're not pouring water on your windshield. So the leaves don't freeze on that tree. Meanwhile, if this one's a maple leaf, our maple tree kept its leaves, it would actually freeze and potentially hurt the tree. Also, one thing that we noticed during our autumn months is it as light outside? Do we have as much light? Think about it. When I get home from school, do I have a couple hours to play outside in the daylight? Usually not as much as the summer, as we have less daylight as well. And trees and plants need that light to survive and produce their own food. But because there's not as much light, well, the leaves aren't helping out as much too. So that's another reason why trees may lose their leaves. It's really cool how trees have kind of adapted. Now, I don't know if you can hear it. If we listen real carefully, we can hear some birds that stay here during the autumn and also winter months. Of course, they stop talking right as I do that. Might be really hard, but if you close your eyes, you might be able to hear. We can hear a chickadee, and I did hear a blue jay. Those are really awesome animals. So, are there any other questions that we have right now, Ryan? Do you want to speak up to them? I might change the camera over.
So there are a few questions.
Yeah.
Two of them, again, have to do with the leaves. Maybe you've talked about this a little bit, but Mashika would like to know, why are trees green in the summer? And there's another question. We are wondering, why do the leaves change color?
Ooh, that's a great question. So there's a couple things here that we have. So I'll start with our second one here, because I'll come back to the first question. Now, why do our leaves change color? Can you hear me there? I think so. We're just back on the regular one. Perfect. Awesome. Why do our leaves change color? Well, our oranges, our reds, our yellows are actually the real color of our leaves. You might be saying, Will, what do you mean? They're green. All our leaves are green. Well, that's actually something inside of the leaves. And I want you to say this word with me. It's a bit tricky, okay? Chlorophyll. Let's try it again. Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is actually the green color inside of the leaf that we see during the summer months, especially on a leaf like this. Or our cedar. We can see the color chlorophyll. When a tree loses the chlorophyll, it cuts off that energy to the leaf. That chlorophyll dies. Remember, it's killing the leaf. And we see the true color of it. So it might be a red, it might be an orange, it might be a yellow. And during autumn or fall, we see those colors. And people love to see them. But it's that chlorophyll that's in our leaves that we see. It's really cool. And our first question, Raya? I forget that one off the top of my head.
Why are they green in the summer? Which I think
Yeah, and that answers it. Why are they green in the summer? Why would a maple leaf like this one or all these other ones be green in the summer? Because they have that chlorophyll. They have that green color in them. And then during autumn, they lose it. Then they start to fall off of the trees. It's really cool. And we see that in a lot of different plants too. It doesn't have to be trees as well. We see that in our goldenrod too. And I'm gonna pull up an image of our goldenrod right here. And it's really beautiful. You see it usually in the later autumn or early autumn when it actually starts to flower. And it's a great plant for our bees and other pollinators as well. If I can pull up my picture of goldenrod right there. Awesome, perfect. Now I mentioned something else of animals too, because we talked a lot about plants, because plants are living things. Now animals. Now there's an animal that you might have seen around your schoolyard that is getting ready for winter. Because remember, we're in autumn right now. This animal has a really bushy tail. It runs around finding food, and sometimes it puts a whole bunch of leaves in its mouth, and it carries them up a tree. Does anyone know what animal this is? Any guesses we can think of? It brings them up into a little home called a dray, up high in a tree. And you might have these around your home or schoolyard. A dray, a squirrel, lives in a dray. And squirrels, they sleep like lots of other animals during the winter months because it's really cold and there's not a lot of food. So they sleep. They might wake up a couple times, hang out with their friend squirrels, maybe find some food if they're hungry, but they're sleeping up in their drays during the winter. So maybe you can look outside your window or when you're in the schoolyard and see if you can find any of these trays, because that's a sign of an animal getting ready for our seasonal changes. Another one, and it has to do with our goldenrod. Anyone know what this is? It's a tricky one. This is a gull. This is an insect. It kind of looks like a fly, and it actually lays its eggs inside of our goldenrod in the stem. And those eggs, or the baby flies, will sleep all winter, and then during the spring, they'll pop out, ready for another life. Anybody hear that? You might have. Our animals, they're talking to us. Our gulls will be actually eaten by other animals sometimes during the winter, especially our birds. So it's like a nice little snack too. So if you find some goldenrod, it looks like this, but it has a big bump. That is a little insect sleeping during the winter. It's pretty cool. See if you can find any of those as well. So unfortunately we couldn't get to walk around as much as I'd like, but I think we talked about some great things. Are there any questions that people may have around our seasonal changes, how animals or other living things may interact? It seems like my colleague here, Raya, is nodding her head. There might be a couple questions. Raya.
So there was a question about, there's a few questions about seasons.
Yeah.
Why are they so important? And why is it, so we're wondering why it is fall and not winter because of the snow on the ground.
Yeah. Now, why are seasons important? Seasons are really important for a lot of different reasons. One, it kind of rejuvenates a lot of our plants. For if they just, if we were stuck in only summer, it was only hot, it was only really sunny, well, there would be a lot of animals that can't really survive that. Our seasons allow for a lot of different variety of plants and animals to survive and thrive. Another thing around our seasons and why it's important too is, well, it helps us. A lot of sometimes our activities or hobbies come from different seasons. Our plants, why they lose their leaves, it's almost like we could say a reptile shedding its skin. It's losing the old and it grows new. And it grows bigger and stronger the next year. It's really cool. And then why do we have seasons? Was the second question, Raya?
The second question was about there's snow on the ground right now. So, but it's
But it's autumn. Yeah, that's a great question. Well, autumn, it doesn't always, have to just think of fall, kind of cooler weather, and also leaves on the ground. We might have snow towards the end of autumn, and that's because winter is coming. It's just right around the corner. But the true changing of date of autumn to winter is actually in December. We're still a bit of a ways out towards when it actually fully changes into winter. So don't be tricked by seeing snow. It's still autumn, but we know because of the snow, winter is a lot closer than it was, at least yesterday, because there wasn't this snow on my car in the morning. I know that for a fact. Any other questions, Raya?
Yes, there are a couple of questions about seeds.
Yeah.
So why are they so small, and where do they come from in the summer?
Yeah, where do they come from? So that's a great question. Why are they so small? Well, our seeds, they're really small because, our plants make them. They don't want to make a giant seed, especially for our goldenrod. And usually it takes a lot of energy to make one seed. Whereas a plant, like our goldenrod, can make hundreds of small seeds. And it takes less energy. A big thing around our plants and other living things is how much energy does it take. If I use a lot of energy to make one seed and that seed doesn't survive, well, that's not really worth it. But if I can use a little less energy but make thousands of seeds and only a couple survive, that's way more worth it. So I have a better chance of more plants surviving if I make more seeds. Now, do we see seeds like this in the summer? No, because our plant, our goldenrod, is getting all of that energy through its roots, sucking up that water. It's enjoying that sunlight through its leaves, and it's making that energy to grow flowers, beautiful yellow flowers. And I'll pull up our image of our flowers again. Our goldenrod, you can see those yellow flowers right here. Bees or other insects will pollinate, they'll go on, they'll rub their hairy legs on it, and then they'll take that pollen to another plant. Once our plant is pollinated, it will then have its seeds. It's really cool. And then in the later fall, we'll have them and it will stay around here, and hopefully these will fall to the ground. Woo! I'll shake it nice and close. Hopefully you can see them all going everywhere. You can hear it too. They'll grow into goldenrod, or this plant. Yeah. And I'll pull that picture back down.
Shall we do our straw poll before we get to more questions?
Yeah, that's a
There are
great
lots of
thing.
other questions.
Yeah. So what we have here is a bit of a straw poll. We're just curious about you guys that are watching from maybe your classroom or at home. So we're going to attach that into our chat there. If you don't mind filling it out, it only takes about 5 seconds. You open it up, you click which one of the 3 categories you would fall into, and that will help us out. So by all means, take a moment. You can do that now or after our presentation here. And we're going to probably get back into the questions into that. Awesome. Any more questions there, Raya?
Oh, there are so many inquiring minds in this
I like it.
audience. So, hard to choose, I'll be honest. We talked about seeds. We talked about the snow on the ground right now. 2 questions. What is inside a tree trunk? Fernanda wants to know. And also, where do trees get their water from?
That's a great question. I'm going to answer our what's inside of a tree trunk. I'm going to move something very quickly, okay?
Oh, you should see Will. Strong man Will.
Okay, woo. Here we go. This is what is inside. Well, this one has a lot of different things. Our tree trunk. It is solid wood. I don't know if you can see it. I think you can. Yeah, there's a bit of snow on it, but there's solid wood. The dead center, actually isn't the living part of the tree. Now we can see our bark as well, and there's also other living things. This yellow thing is actually a mushroom, which is really cool, which is a fungi. They kind of like living on these dead trees. It's a nice little home for them. But inside of our tree trunks, it's actually usually solid wood. And if you listen really carefully, it doesn't make a lot of sound. Some tree trunks, though, are hollow. Not all of them, but some are. And if you knock on it just like that one, you might hear a bit of an echo. A lot of animals like living inside of hollow tree trunks, especially squirrels sometimes, or a lot of insects as well. So most trees though, most tree trunks, they're solid wood. And then our other question was?
Where do trees get their water from?
Where do trees get our water from? Everyone wiggle your toes. Do we get our water from our toes? No, we get our water from maybe a tap, but we drink it through our mouths. For trees, their mouth is kind of like their toes, but something called roots. And we don't see roots. At least right now, roots are underground. And it's long, you could almost say like hair, reaching out. Long arms reaching out, just drinking up that water and other minerals that they may like. It's really awesome. If you've ever seen one or a small plant that you've grown, you kind of pull it up and it has all these little hands reaching out everywhere. And the bigger the tree, usually the deeper and more spread out the roots are. Yeah, it's a really great question. I like that.
So we just have a few more minutes, but this is a really great question from JJ. JJ is wondering if all animals hibernate.
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to address what is hibernation or hibernating. Hibernating is an animal that sleeps all winter. So an animal that hibernates sleeps all winter. It's kind of like what I want to do some days. I just want to sleep all day, right? But I have too much energy. Not all animals will hibernate all winter. If we think of our squirrel, right, it doesn't sleep all winter. It does wake up every once in a while, and we call that torpor. Torpor. It sleeps, then it will wake up, and it sleeps, and it wakes up. Some animals will migrate or go through migration. It's different than hibernation. Hibernation is sleeping, so let's try that. Everyone will hibernation. We'll all have a bit of a nap here. We'll pretend we're maybe a bear or something. But migration is when an animal moves from one place to another. An animal that migrates, and a beautiful one, is a monarch butterfly. A small insect that lives here during the summer will fly all the way to central Mexico for the winter because it's nice and safe and warm there. It can't survive here in the winter. Another one, most Canadian geese will fly south to a warmer place. They migrate. They go through this migration. So not all animals hibernate. Some will migrate or move to a different place. It's really cool. Great question.
All right, I think we have time for just 2 more questions. And for those that are wondering, the chat will be available after the live stream, but it doesn't always load right away. So you might have to wait a day to really see it. But you are welcome also to continue in the comments if you have further questions tomorrow or the next day, and we'll do our best to check back and answer them. Now, the next question is actually, it's about, there's a student, Patrick, who noticed the mushrooms growing on the tree trunk and was wondering if those mushrooms can be eaten.
Ooh, I am not as great with my mushrooms as I am with other plants. But I would not eat anything that you find in nature unless you are 100% sure what it is. Lots of mushrooms look kind of like their sister mushroom. And their sister mushroom might not be the greatest for our health. So would I eat that mushroom or can I eat that? I honestly don't know. But with more research and more learning, I might be able to know, but it's not going to be something I'm going to eat without knowing what it is exactly. There are some great courses and there's some great learning that can happen around what mushrooms you can eat. You just have to be very safe. I wouldn't suggest eating anything you find outside without talking to an adult, though. And they're probably going to say no. So, yeah.
And our last question, since we're talking about seasonal changes, has to do with the weather. There have actually been a couple of questions about why does the weather actually change? And I guess we can talk about why it changes in Canada the way it does.
Yeah, awesome. So for seasons, I'm not going to get into it too much, or why we kind of have seasons in general and why does our weather change. Has to also do with our Earth as well. We know we're on Earth and we know we're going around the sun. And it really, just in very simply, is where our Earth is to the sun, around it, will kind of depend on which season we're in. And then because of that, if we're closer to the sun, or, well, it's not even closer or farther, where we are depends on how much energy from the sun we're getting. If we're getting lots and lots of energy, we're getting lots and lots of heat, well, we're probably in the month of summer. If we're getting less energy from the sun, well, we're probably in the season of winter. And those are kind of the main things about it, because, well, if we're not getting as much energy, it won't be as warm, which probably means it's going to be winter. And if we're getting more energy, well, we know it's going to be summer. Yeah. So I want to say thank you very much, everybody, for participating, for asking the great questions that we had today about our seasonal changes. We have an upcoming one in December 2nd around microplastics for grade 8. So if you know any friends or other teachers that may be interested in that, by all means, check it out. If you have any further questions about today, as Raya mentioned, you can put them in the chat or the comments below if you're watching this at a later date. I want to say thank you very much, everybody, from the TRCA, Raya, and myself, and everybody else helping out. Enjoy the rest of your day and start exploring. Thanks, everybody.